Hey, welcome back everybody to the TFL Podcast for week 7. You're here with Rowan and Arch. Arch, how are you, mate? You ready for the week ahead?
I'm always ready, Rowan. Look, dust ourselves off of a week where, no large victories came our way. We just sort of limped through with a small loss. This is the week, Rowan. This is the week.
That's it. Bring the positivity, Arch. That's what we want to hear. Yeah, look, week was the same for me. I was happy with the micro. Look, was looking good last week, and then old mate Tones Rocket comes through with about 20 lineups just to fill out top to essentially the 20. Like, he just blitzed it. We'll talk about him in a second. Yeah, but far out. Anyway, guys, if you're listening, check us out on Twitter and Facebook at the TFL Podcast. You can like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. So hit the bell, jump in the comments. We always want to hear from you, and especially when we're live, get on it. And we will we always appreciate your reviews. Hit us up on any of those places. Apple Podcasts, 5 stars, of course. That's the way to go.
Is there any other star?
No, that's always 5 stars. So yeah. Guys, we just want to hear from you, and we love that you tune in. It's great to do the DFS journey with you all. There's a couple of links that we'd love you to click if you want to join Draftstars. It's bit.ly/join Draftstars. And then we also have a weekly contest in the lobby. You can check it out. It fills up every week. It's a $5 single entry. Really nice.
Fills up every week, Rowan. That's an understatement.
It
bloody bursts open.
That's right. So
it got up to in the 60s last week, where it's meant to be a 40-man. Like, this is fast becoming the most popular contest on Draftstars. Look, I'm not making this up. This is the hottest contest in the lobby right now.
You want to get involved, 100%. bit.ly/TFL week 7. That's it.
Yes.
So last week, week 6, like I said, Tones Rocket, mate, he just filled up the micros and the main. He was in the main as well. He did very, very well. Look, it wasn't quite that chalky. He went big on Juju, who had a big game and beat all my expectations and destroyed all my MVS shares. So thanks a lot for that one. That was great. Travis Kelce and Stephon Diggs. Look, it's correlation. It's Buffalo, Kansas City, and Mahomes and Allens were just sprinkled through there as well. So, look, good on you, mate. Well done. I thought I was looking good with a Burrow stack. I had 10 Burrow stacks in there. I was like, sweet, he's super under-owned. Have him with Chase. They both bowled out. But actually, the thing that really did well for Tones Rocket was like he was like 90% on Deion Jackson.
95%. 95%.
So
I think it was 3% in the mini. I think maybe 11% in the main.
And everyone I thought Deion Jackson would be more owned than he was. But I had more than the field.
I think it was the late news of it all. I had 50% of him, and it still wasn't enough because of bloody Tones Rocket.
He had a great day, Deion. Anyway, so look, I finished 21st
as well was the big one, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right. Anyway, Arch, how did you go?
Look, I played mainly the mini on the weekend, just trying to keep to the smaller field, less mass multi-entry type feel. And so you have to really make your stances on who you're going to play. You can't just spread, 20 quarterbacks in stacks. So, look, I went Lamar and Brady as my sort of contrarian plays away from the Buffalo Chiefs and Seattle, Arizona. But I still had a fair bit of Allen and I think Kyler Murray were the two that I sort of held into. Completely faded Mahomes, which wasn't too bad in the end, but just didn't have Burrow. Overlooked him.
I was really surprised because a lot of the roster ship went to Chase, especially with the Marshawn Lattimore news. So Chase was pretty popular. The fact that Burrow didn't get tossed in with that surprised me a lot, actually. So I think that's potentially got to look for that. We look at those cornerback matchups and the secondary matchups and go, oh, sweet, it's great for the wide receivers. Let's not forget, it's great for the quarterbacks too. So
I think there's a trust issue with Zach Taylor and what's going on. But, we'll talk about Cincinnati a bit later on, how I guess just the last few weeks compared to the season has been going.
That's right. speaking of matchups and games, let's get into week 7. Let's do it. Click the button.
Oh, yeah! There's weeks 7 for you. Woo!
Alrighty. The voice is a little huskier today. If you've noticed, it's it's
Really
back
getting me
after.
going, Rowan. Really
That's
getting me going.
I'm going to be hitting mute every now and then to make sure these coughs don't get on air. But that's okay. We're going to push through. The first matchup that we've got.
Yes.
Don't you love it? Is Seattle at the Chargers. Chargers are 6-point favorites, and the over-under is 51 points. I think it's the only over-under that is above 50 in our line in our matchups this week. So let's just think this through. Seattle had a poor week last week against the Cardinals, but still, when it comes to expected points added per play, they are 4th in pass EPA per play. They're 10th in rush EPA per play, which I expect to go up the more I watch Kenneth Walker because he is a jet. They are 3rd overall when it comes to EPA per play. So Seattle doing a lot of things right in the offense. So look, I'm gonna consider that Cardinals game just a little bit of an outlier, or not an outlier, but just at their floor, because I think what they have showed over the last month is that they are consistent. Like they can be consistent. Geno Smith, we all had question marks, but look, let's jump into this offense. Geno, he's back in the picture. 0 touchdowns last week. It's going to have an impact on his score for sure. But these EPA per play stats just point to the fact that this offense can still get going and still run well. But I think because of how good Kenneth Walker is looking, I'm not looking to stack Geno this week. I'm going to stay away. Look, he's priced down to 12,000, so that's fine. That's good enough. But yeah, I'm not so sure that I really want to stack with him this week. So instead, Kenneth Walker's a guy that I really like. So I'm a big fan of him. Just watching some of his jump cuts, the way he made defenders miss last week. Go back and watch the film. He was an absolute beast. And so Kenneth Walker is priced there at 11,700, which is a really just nice price. It doesn't affect your salary elsewhere too much. It's really middle of the road, and I think he's in line for just more opportunities. Like he's looking really good. He's coming up against the Chargers as well, and the Chargers are giving up chunk gains on the ground. They are going at 5.8 yards per carry to opposing running backs. So big fan of that for sure. Let's move over to the wide receivers, though. You've got Lockett and Metcalf, both priced in the 10,000s, 10,220, and $10,060. Just make him 10,000, right, Arch? That's just what we like to see there.
I want to see those. I mean, that would be 4 zeros. That's real good stuff.
That's right. Now, I think looking at these guys, the question has to be, is this going to be a pace-up game for Seattle and the Chargers? And we know that Seattle on defense are rubbish. They're very, very poor. They're 22nd overall in defensive DVOA, and so that means and that's why Geno's had to throw the ball a lot. They've had to keep up. They've had to push it out because they know and get points on the board because they know their defense isn't going to be able to hold the teams as well. So, look, I'm looking at this and going Lockett and Metcalf, $10,000 is cheap. Like it's really good. It's good value, especially for a guy like Lockett, who in the past month has put up scores 30, 13.1, 16.6, 22.7. Like, if you're playing any of those, like it's fantastic. It is fantastic. So, Ty Lockett, I'm a big fan. DK Metcalf has shown us he can hit above the 20 mark as well. Look, even if you went 17.8 at 10K, like that's fine. Like I'm happy to roll with that.
It's not going to hurt you.
No, it's not going to kill your lineup by any stretch. So here I am looking at these for Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker, Ty Lockett, DK Metcalf. I'm not going to stack, but I am pretty happy to play the pieces in there. Fant and Disley, look, both in 5K range, which is great. Punt tight end. We always like to punt tight end. And so I think either of these guys are in line for a touchdown. Noah Fant has been the route runner, though. And he's my preferred option. He's going at, he's getting a target on 37% of the routes that he runs, and he's out there a fair bit. So I'm happy with Fant there for sure.
My only worry about the tight ends here, Rowan, is, the Chargers, they're giving plenty of points to the running backs, but they're actually 7th in points allowed to the tight ends, so they're actually quite good at guarding them. Probably that sort of intermediate, close range sort of catches there.
No, that's fair. I think, both of these guys are looking for a touchdown to pay off.
Yeah,
and it's not about the yardage so much, but it's about the opportunity that they'll get. And I think Noah Fant's just getting opportunity, and so that's probably where I'll look for there. At that price, it's not too bad. Let's flip over to the other side.
Oh, baby.
Ooh.
Oh, baby.
Seattle defense did step up last week, but the Cardinals suck. So let's just keep that in mind.
Yes.
So let's just keep that in mind. Herbert, he's here at $15,570, and he had a 0 touchdown game last week against the Broncos. Broncos have a really, really good defense. Patrick Surtain's been a gun. So I'm looking at this going, come on, Justin.
Yes.
Can we go back to the days of 25-plus point games? Like, let's get back there, and you can do it. But the cautious thing has been, he hasn't hit 300 yards passing. He's done it once in the last month. He's thrown multiple touchdowns once in the last month, and he's not getting yards on the ground. He is, I think he needs to make the most of this poor defense, and I think it's almost up to Seattle. If you think Seattle can get the game going and put points on the board, and get up and force the Chargers into a negative game script, then sweet. I think we're on. I think we're on to something, and I think Herbert can be a good stacking option. So we have to watch for that. So, but I am hesitant. I still am hesitant. But that brings us to another piece of the Chargers offense, which I'm very keen on, and he is our premium play of the week. So let's do that. Let's do the premium play of the week. Show me the money! Austin Eckler is our premium play of the week. He is sitting there priced up at $17,720. But Seattle are giving up a ton of rushing yards. They are second in the league in terms of the most rushing yards in the last month. So Eckler is definitely in play, even at such a large price. So we saw him go for 173 rushing yards against Cleveland 2 weeks ago. These rush defenses are pretty similar. So he's still getting involved in terms of the passing game as well. He can put up touchdowns through the air or on the ground. This is a dual threat every day of the week, so I'm a big fan of Austin Eckler. We saw 10 receptions last week. And so if you are going to stack Herbert, Eckler, always in play when it comes to these stacks, especially in terms of touchdowns. So, look, Eckler is one of those guys that you can play. Just, it doesn't matter. You can always play because of the opportunity that he is getting. So, the one hesitancy is that he hasn't been getting any carries within the 5-yard line, and he's been performing way over expectation. Hayden Winks has got an expectation model out there. I encourage you guys to go look at it, Underdog Network. But yeah, he's performing way above. So negative regression is in play. If you're
scoring from outside the 20-yard line, though, Rowan, you're not going to get those opportunities, are you?
No, that's true. That's right. So he did rush one in from the 6-yard line.
Yes.
Last week. So he's getting closer to the 5-yard line.
Still getting
Josh
lots
Kelly
of
going down
high-value
with injuries.
touches.
Josh Kelly going down definitely helps. Sony Michel's the only guy there now at the moment.
Would you play Sony Michel?
No, I would not play Sony Michel. I'm still going to avoid that. I think, look, it's hard to trust anyone that's a second running back.
Yeah, not in a multi-game slate anyway.
No, not like this. Chargers are 5th in pass rate over expectation. So Keenan Allen, he should be back, and he's priced just below $12,000. So having Allen back only helps Herbert.
Yeah.
So then you got Mike Williams, $13,400. We saw him get shut down by Patrick Surtain last week. Allen just makes him more open. Like, I think this is one of those things. Allen and Williams work well together. So you want this team to be full strength for both of these guys, so that they're just as valid weapons either side of the field. So I'm not scared of Williams with Allen coming back. I think both of these guys can bowl out. So, again, if there's a negative game script, love that. Let's also just quickly talk about Everett. Everett is a really important piece of this offense. We can't deny that at all. He's had some very solid games, some 5-6 reception games with decent yardage, which is great. And Seattle, well, if there's a smash spot for tight ends, it's against Seattle. Because Seattle, over the past 4 weeks, have allowed 43 more PPR points to the tight end position than any other team. I think it's about 107, 112 maybe to 59, I think is the next one. So, look, these guys are just giving up points every day of the week to tight ends. Gerald Everett could be the guy. So if I'm going to stack this game, I'm probably going to go Herbert with an Allen or Williams and Everett. So I actually think you got to put Everett in here. I honestly think you need to put Everett with all of your close to all of your Herbert stacks because of how good a spot it is, and then one of Allen or Williams, and then bring it back with Kenneth Walker because the Chargers, the best way to beat the Chargers is on the ground. The other way to do it, Geno with either Lockett or Metcalf. I'm only looking to single stack Geno, I think, and then I'd love to bring it back with Eckler. So there you go. There's my stacks in terms of this game.
Yeah, no, and I think, look, if you really believe in the game script of this game, a Chargers onslaught is in play here with, putting Eckler into, your Allen or Williams with Everett stack as well. Like, have all the pieces, in a small field type contest.
It's definitely a way to get different, that's for sure. Next up on our list, we have got Kansas City taking on San Francisco. Archers, how do you like this game?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one. But I think Kansas City coming in as road favourites against, a San Francisco defence that's missing a few pieces. Could, a lot of people could get a bit excited about the Kansas City side. You're looking at a good, but really, if you boil it down to, what did San Francisco gave up 28 points to Atlanta last week? But it wasn't the defense giving that away. Like there was a defensive touchdown in there, and 2 interceptions for Jimmy G, and field position was hard to defend, and so I wouldn't put that all on the San Francisco D last week. They've been stout all year, and I think they can get by even missing a few pieces, and I think this potentially had with an over under of 49 at the moment, I could see this getting bet down or hitting the unders for sure. So I'm a little bit hesitant looking into this game. But let's maybe delve in deeper. There's stories to see where this game can actually succeed. But just like, Kansas City at Buffalo last week, there's also routes for the game to fail. And so let's just have a look here. Look, Kansas City, though, as an offense, they're first in pass rate over expectation and, expected points added per play, which often means they do hit the overs, but they're just not. And so there seem to be a lot of metrics that look that they're going to be the goods, but San Francisco defense is first defensively in EPA per play and pass EPA play, and also fifth in pass rate over expectation defensively. So it's a really tough matchup for Kansas City here. So I'm sort of thinking that San Francisco really tries to slow this game down, causing the game to hit those unders, and that they try to just grind it out on the ground here against Kansas City and just put a stop to Mahomes. So San Francisco is also first in pressure percentage as a defense, and that's where Mahomes has struggled this year. When he's being pressured, he is suffering, and so I think we're going to see a lot of quick, short passes and not so many big plays. And so I'm not really excited about sort of your deep pass catches. MVS is always a bit of a thin play. He was quite popular last week. He probably won't be as popular. Everyone might flood to Juju after the big game, but I'm just not excited at all about. There's too many pieces that aren't Tyreek Hill for Kansas City, and so you have to really just get lucky in the one you choose. But if we look at, let's look at the pass catches. I'm going to start with the number one target in Kelsey. I know we're jumping to tight end here, Rowan, on the screen, but he is really the piece of this offense that you can't overlook. Like the target share, the floor in his game, like 36% of his routes he was targeted last week. He's really the only one Mahomes fully trusts in this offense. He's still working it out with everyone else. And so in a game that potentially does get slowed down, I think Kelsey I can still trust to still collect those targets. The other guys I'm just a little bit worried about. Juju, let's have a look at him. Big game last week. He was on the field more than he's ever been before, 93% route participation. But, Rowan, he had 5 catches, only 5 targets. So, he made good use of it all. But that's only 12% of his targets per route run. So that kind of scares me as a metric. Targets per route run's really quite sticky. It gives a bit of a sense of, are they earning targets when they're running routes? Are they getting open? And to me, I think Juju just fully capitalized on the opportunities he got last week. And I don't think that's something that's going to continue and that we can trust. So I'm fading Juju this week, especially if the field's going to sort of chase some points, which I don't know if they will. Let's give the field a little bit more credit. But MVS, no catches from 3 targets last week as well. He would have very popular, killed plenty of lineups in that game script. And he's part of the reason why I'm very glad that I did fade Mahomes stacks. So I probably would have gone the MVS route as well. And so, look, I think he's a bad play again this week. Look, unless you think this game script is going to get you there. Like, if you think this is going to be a bit of a back and forth, play him and he might pay off. But I'm a bit off him. And let's just forget about Mecole Hardman as well, Rowan. Only 40% route participation last week in that sort of game environment. I think we can't really trust that. I don't know.
Yeah,
what do you think, Rowan, about the pass catches?
Yeah, no, probably gonna fade this game. At least I'm gonna fade it on the Kansas City side. Because I'm not a big fan. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, all the metrics are just pointing to him just dropping off the face of the earth. So I'm gonna pass on that. And I don't want part of a 3-headed backfield between Pacheco, McKinnon, and CEH. So
it's probably
it's Kelsey, and that's about it for me.
Yeah, it's probably a coin flip on which running back you go with. For me, it's McKinnon or CEH. But it's an extra $2K to get to CEH. He's still probably the preferred running back, I would think. I don't think it's just an automatic McKinnon's the passing down back in this offense. It's just too shared. So, I'm going to avoid the running backs here. San Francisco side, look, Jimmy G could go okay here. We saw last week, playing from behind, he actually threw the ball 41 times, which you don't expect from the guy. And so if you think this is going to be a back and forth game, and with San Francisco playing from behind, this is where you could go. Look, Kansas City is a decent defense against the rush. 13 rush DVO. It's not, amazing, but it's above average. But they are terrible against the pass. They're 28th in pass DVOA. And so look for San Francisco to attack them through the air here. But the huge downfall is just the pace of play that San Francisco are. Like, they're 27th in neutral game script pace of play. So, low pace means low points. And so that's where I'm really not excited about this game. Unless you think that they're going to be playing from behind and throwing the ball like last week, which I'm not sure will happen. I think this game gets slowed down. I don't think they want to find themselves in a back and forth with Kansas City. Defense and grind it out, I think, is the way they go. Debo, really good spot here. He's the play on this side that I'm really excited about. He is getting all the passing work, 20.29 targets per route run, 85% route participation. He's also 7th in the league in high-value touches, Rowan. That's carries and receptions near the end zone. So
love that.
That's a lot of just opportunity to score points. And so I think this is a good spot for him. Welcome back, Ayuk, Rowan. Is he back?
I don't know if he's back, but I think what we saw last week was this result of being in a negative game script.
Exactly.
Loved it.
And that's what it all comes down to. When in that environment, look, he was he is running routes more often than not. Like 93% route participation last week, 89% on the year. And he was near 30% targets per route run last week as well. So he's getting open, he's earning targets. But generally, this is a low volume offense. And so those higher target shares really don't amount to that much. And so, look, he didn't crack 100 yards. He needed the 2 touchdowns to get him there. He's not going to get 2 touchdowns every week. Even with 1 touchdown, it's not that great. But, I mean, he's sub 9K, so you could definitely do worse. But if I'm looking around the similar price point, I might actually look over the tight end land and look at George Kittle. You know, there's history between him and Jimmy G that I think we can't ignore. Back when Kittle was, monster in the competition, he's sort of the forgotten guy now. Like, 2 years ago, if you told me that George Kittle was always going to be sub 10K on Draftstars, I'd have laughed in your face. It was the darling of the dynasty community that he was going to be the next guy taking over. It sort of stopped. But I think the volume could add up. And I think as soon as he starts getting a touchdown here and there, I think that's going to... I think look, if you look at that, 83 yards last week.
It's great.
Throwing a touchdown there, he's going to move you up at leaderboards because he's not going to be a popular play. So I don't mind a bit of George Kittle.
Yeah, I love George Kittle. I think he's going to get swallowed up by... You got Mark Andrews, because let's just look at the tight ends in general. Like, you've got Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, and at 15K, and he drops 6K, well, 5 and a bit K to George Kittle. Like, he's going to get lost in the mess of Kelce and Andrews and people jumping down to some of the cheaper options, which we'll talk about later. So, I think Kittle's a fantastic contrarian play here at the tight end position.
Yep. CMOS from Aussie Fantasy Football's just written in what a poo week, so he's not happy.
A lot of low totals. Hey, CMOS.
Look, let's just quickly stack this game for us.
Sure.
Look, I mean, if you want to do it, it's obviously Mahomes-Kelce that you do here. But that, it eats away 30% of your salary. So you need to really hit some low-priced guys for the rest of your lineup. Bringing it back with Debo is, also fairly pricey. A trio there. But, they're definitely going to do well. If the game script's, nice, this is really going to correlate nicely. But probably what I'm going to do is probably just mini stack it and just look at Debo Kelce mini stacks in a lot of lineups. And maybe instead of Kelce, if I'm feeling frisky, might just throw a punt running back in CEH every now and again. But really, it's Debo Kelce mini stacks for mine.
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of that. It's going to be solid. Alrighty, let's move on to our next matchup. Next matchup, we got Detroit and Dallas. G'day. Thanks everyone tuning in on YouTube, by the way. We got the YouTube comments. If you're listening to us on the podcast, check us out on YouTube one time and give us a like and subscribe. Make sure you're all liking and subscribing. Sam, mate, I am sounding a bit rough. I appreciate it. It is, you have a cold and then you go back to teach high school students and then you realize that you weren't ready. And this is the result of that. So
we're never ready,
here for the people.
We're never bloody ready.
That's right. All right. Speaking of health, let's talk about Detroit.
Okay.
What? You don't like that segue?
I mean, there's been worse, I guess.
Yeah. Detroit at Dallas. Dallas are 7-point favorites in this game. There's a 49-point over-under. And I think part of that is because people are hoping that Detroit are getting healthy and that we are going to see Amon-Ra St. Brown hit the field, that we're going to see DeAndre Swift hit the field. That would be fantastic if we could see that happen just to get, great offense on the field again. Because what we saw from the Lions early on was phenomenal. These guys just were making plays, pushing down the field, fast-paced. We loved everything that we saw. Now, Goff, he went big against Seattle. That was huge. Now, that was a massive Hawkinson week. That was a week where we saw 4 touchdowns through the air, 378 passing yards. You're not going to see that again. Let's be honest. You're not going to see that again from Jared Goff in maybe the next 3 years, if that. Not the rest of his career. So, Jared Goff, look, I don't want to get sucked in here. I think that's the big thing for this matchup for me. I don't want to get sucked into Detroit because Dallas, defensively, they are 3rd in pass DVOA defensively and 6th overall. 17th in rush. So I'm looking at defenses, and Dallas is a strong one. Compare that to Seattle, who are just woeful. So here I'm looking at Detroit with a lot of question marks. So Swift is the biggest lot of question marks for me, really. Like, he's priced up 13,400. Like, that's in the top, I think, 6 of the slate. Well,
yeah, there's so
either
many
way,
other options in that price range, isn't there?
there's no way that I want to go near Swift, okay? Because there's nothing telling. Like, Dallas's rush defense is 5th toughest in adjusted fantasy points allowed. That's from 444.com. And Jamal Williams is still a threat. He's not going anywhere. He's got the goal line work. So unless Swift is able to take a pass in for 30 yards and knock down a touchdown, well, Jamal Williams is going to be the guy within the 10. So Swift is priced way up, and I don't want to touch it. Jamal Williams, to be honest, is priced at $8K, and he's always a touchdown upside. So if you really want to throw a dart throw in the micro, then hey, Jamal Williams is a guy that could do that. Let's talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown, though. I have a soft spot for Amon-Ra St. Brown because, well, that's just
I've got
ceiling.
a real hard spot for him, to be honest.
Yeah,
bro.
sure, mate. This guy's ceiling is ridiculous. It is absolutely monstrous, and they'll use him on the ground even. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, if he's back fit and firing, then the offense is going to flow through this guy. They're going to look for him a lot. He is going to get on the ground. Ignore that 5.8 against New England because he left like really early in that game, and he'd already got 4 receptions in that game as well. So Amon-Ra is a PPR god. You play this guy, and priced at 12,000. It's a good price for Amon-Ra St. Brown. So he's the guy in this game that I'm most likely to play.
Have we had any practice reports from him? Are you across that?
Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown is getting in full practices. DeAndre Swift, I think, he's either limited or didn't practice today. So so you watch for DeAndre Swift. If DeAndre Swift doesn't get up, then of course Jamal Williams comes into play at $8K.
Oh, yeah.
Big time. Love that. Hawkinson, $8,900. I can't see him having another outlier game. Of course, he's not playing Seattle every week. Thing is, he's always on the field and he's always running routes. So the only way I'm going to play Hawkinson is if I'm stacking Goff, which I said before, I'm not super keen on. So unlikely I'll see much Hawkinson this week. Those 4 up the top are really the only people you should care about from this team, especially with Dallas's defense being solid. So ask you questions about those 4, and then if Swift isn't in, you're asking questions about Jamal Williams. And Jamal Williams becomes a really solid play if Swift doesn't make it. But Swift says, his own words, he's pushing to get there for Sunday. Let's flip over to Dallas. Yeah, let's flip over to Dallas, and we've got Dak. He is back. He's also back, priced up in the 15,000 range.
Yeah. Not wasting any time, are they?
No, that's right. It's like, well, you're up against Detroit, so you're going to have to be really, really expensive. And it's hard. It's hard to look at that and go, oh, yeah, I'll play Dak. Especially that first week against Tampa. He got injured in like 5 minutes to go in the game, and he still only put up 5.5 points. Like, oh, it was woeful. Yeah. So bad. So the question is, though, Cooper Rush has been decent. Okay, so looking at Cooper Rush, like he had a few good games in those first few starts. Failed miserably the last 2 weeks. But the question remains, are we going to get Dak Prescott of old? And if there's a week where he can do that, he has to be healthy, obviously. He has to feel good. He has to be... But the thing is, there was question marks about whether he will return last week. So I think he should be fine. Like, he should be ready this week to go. And Detroit is the defense to go against. Detroit, defensively, 32nd DVOA against the pass. 31st in rush DVOA, 32nd in overall DVOA. They suck. It's just bad. Do
they have a defense?
I don't know if they have people on the field. So I'm looking at this, and Dallas, overall, their EPA per play, they're 19th overall, so they haven't been doing great, but you can put that down to Cooper Rush. It's a new quarterback, new opportunities. So if I'm looking at Dak Prescott, I don't think he's going to be highly owned. People aren't going to flock to Dak Prescott. He's very expensive, and he's coming off injury, but the matchup's great. So because of that, I think Dak Prescott is going to be probably sitting in that sub 10% range when it comes to quarterbacks. So I'm actually a fan of that in terms of what we could do here and what he could do. Like, you only have to play a few lineups with Dak Prescott in the mini to get leverage.
Yeah.
And then we want to pair him with CeeDee Lamb because CeeDee Lamb is a god when it comes to PPR. And look, he's priced up $16K, but he should be. He should be priced up.
Yeah.
Like that's where he should be.
The opportunity is outrageous.
It's a smash spot. He's still rocking 39% of his team's air yards. Like they want to push the ball out to him.
Yeah.
So, and hey, if the price tag scares you, well, that's better as well for what the field might do and what you could do instead. So
it is again over 30% of your salary to pair them to. So that obviously impacts the rest of your lineup.
Yep, that's right. But sometimes you got to pay up in that situation to get. If you get 2 30-point games out of them, you're laughing.
That's it.
So let's talk about the running backs. Ezekiel Elliott and Pollard are sharing the load big time, and it's a 60% to 41% snap share. Now, Zeke is running more routes, so he is my preferred back against this woeful defense, but 12,750 is a lot, and he really, like, to be honest, you need him to rush for 2 touchdowns to pay off.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way. So there's no way that you're going to play Zeke Elliott with any of the pass catchers from Dallas.
No,
Michael Gallup's interesting, $9,280. You know, he's got an 18.5% target share over the last 3 weeks. So with Dak back, you think that he'll actually be able to make the most of those targets. So I don't mind Michael Gallup as a cheaper play as well. So, yeah, looking at that, Dalton Schultz did get into full practice, which is fantastic because he is so cheap. And if we want to think about stacking, and yes, these guys are expensive up here, Prescott and Lamb, but if you can bring it in Dalton Schultz at $6,720, that's pretty good.
Are we worried the rookie actually is going to eat into his load after a pretty good performance last week?
Ferguson? Look, maybe. Maybe this is Blake Jarwin all over again. There's a name. So, yeah, look, I'm happy to play Dalton Schultz, though, at 6,700 in his stack. I think he's still... Like, he's Dak's guy. Dak hasn't done anything with Ferguson. Dak's done a lot with Schultz, so I'm going to trust that.
Yep.
So if I'm going to stack this game, it's going to be a mini stack between Amon-Ra St. Brown and Lamb, or I'm going to stack Dak and Lamb with either Schultz or Gallup, and then, of course, bring it back with Amon-Ra St. Brown. So that's how I'm going to play this game.
Yep. Beautiful.
Any other thoughts from you, Arch?
No. It's just it has the potential to be very high pace. Both teams have a lot of pace at play. So obviously, it's hard to know the Dallas side because it's been Cooper Rush so much. So,
yeah.
But on the health front, I think it's if Cooper Rush had lost a lot of games, we might have seen they might have rushed Dak back. But I think they had the luxury of really making sure he's healthy. So that the hope is that he's good to go.
Yeah, I hope so too. Let's move on to Atlanta at Cincinnati. Cincinnati are 6-point favorites, over under 47, but I have a feeling this could go over that. Talk to us about this game, Arch.
Yeah, I mean, are the Bengals back? That's the question. Like, in the last 3 weeks, compared to the season, like last 3 weeks, they are 5th in total and pass EPA per play, 4th in pass rate over expectation, 6th in pass percentage, and 6th in pressure percentage, like giving Burrow a nice clean pocket along the way. Are they finally just is Zach Taylor finally listening to his team and like, oh, this is what you're good at? Or I'll let you do it. Like, honestly.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the hope. Like, that this is hopefully where they're trending. They face Atlanta defense that's dead last in pressure percentage. They can't put pressure on a quarterback. So Burrow hopefully continues this nice clean pocket and gets it done. He's dominating when he gets a clean pocket. He's 4th in most passing yards in the NFL when in a clean pocket. So the volume's there. Like you look at last week, he gets the 3-point bonus for the second time.
Only just.
Oh. He got it though.
Just there.
With 3 passing touchdowns. Like
I'm
that's
thankful for it.
That's what we want to see. Look, if T. Higgins is healthy, fire up your Cincinnati stacks, maybe double stacks. You know, both Higgins and Chase had 10 targets last week, 10 each. So double stacks definitely are in play. I think if the trend continues, he can definitely service 2. Whether you go double wide receiver or throw in a nice little Hayden Hurst here, I think that's a nice little option there to in tight end land. I must say, Ron, Draftstars been pretty good with their tight end pricing. Like there's a lot of decent 8K-ish options this year. Doesn't have that dead zone feel that it has in the past where you go premium or you punt. So, don't overlook those mid-priced guys. Problem. There is a problem in this game, Rowan.
Oh, no.
Draftstars been pretty bloody aggressive in pricing the Bengals after, from 1 week to the next. I think Jamar Chase was in the 12Ks. He's jumped up.
Which was a misprice, let's be honest. Jamar Chase should never be in the 12Ks.
Yeah,
but
so
yes,
they've obviously run a set of eyes over there, and like was their automatic mated algorithm wouldn't have jumped them up that much in 1 week. So they've said, "Oh, yeah, we've made a mistake. Let's put him up 15K." At the end of the day, Jamar Chase has that ceiling. We know it. He just hasn't hit it much this year. And so you can never just be off Jamar Chase in your player pool because you know what the ceiling is with those big plays. So, any given week he can hit the 100-yard bonus and 2 touchdowns, as you saw last week. But if we want to save a bit of salary, T. Higgins is the guy. You're almost saving 2K there. Can have monster games as well. Really, it's a really nice little spot for both of them. But, Burrow as well, his price has risen to 15K as well. So we're looking at, again, like we've looked at the last few games where the favourable stacks, you're hitting 30K, 30% of your salary again. So you have to make sure you hit your other low-priced pieces. But again, if you hit the ceilings that they can hit, like Burrow and Chase, if you end up with 70 points with just those 2 pieces, you're going pretty well, and you can, if you don't hit all your pieces outside of them, you're going to be okay. So, love the Cincinnati side this week, but we are paying a premium for it. Like we're not getting that little cheapy Cincinnati.
No, not at all.
If Bengals run up a lead, Mixon is definitely in play for a huge workload here as well. Had a touchdown last week, but again, 16K, he's up in price as well. So, but he can definitely get there. But as you see, look at his work over the season. Like even with the receiving touchdown last week, he still couldn't crack 20 points. Hard to play at 16K. But yeah, and I said Hurts is good. They're playing a defense that's 29th in adjusted fantasy points allowed to tight ends. So Hurst is potentially in a good spot in terms of matchups as well. Atlanta. Oh, what do we make about Atlanta, Rowan? They're going okay. 3-3. Better than what anyone probably thought. But for fantasy, they're killing us, man. Like they just aren't really getting it done. Like they're slow. They are hell-bent on establishing the run.
Oh, yeah.
You're behind. You can't just run and catch up. Like pass the. Yeah, like come on. Like it is hard to watch. But you could argue that their drive and play success is actually up there, Rowan. Like in real football terms, what they're doing is actually not that terrible. It just hurts.
It's working for them.
It just hurts for fantasy, and so I'm going to probably avoid Atlanta. If you want to play a piece, it's London. He's the offense. But look, last week, 28-14 against San Francisco. Do you know how many yards Mariota passed for?
Yeah, it's like 120 something.
129. Like that's not getting you anywhere. Pitts found pay dirt.
2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and Pitts caught a touchdown. His what was it? The only touchdown he's caught was in England, so it's like he finally caught a touchdown on home soil. Right. They were saying, but still only 3 catches for 19 flipping yards, Rowan. Like,
yeah, it's gross.
Michael Pruitt catches the other touchdown with help, which helps no one.
Those guys. What do you think about Olamide Zaccheaus?
Oh, you read my bloody run sheet, didn't you? He's my next guy. He is a good 6K punt play. If there's a punt play on this week, look, he has quite a decent average depth of target. He's caught 3 deep balls this year. If he catches one long pass for a touchdown, he pays off. 75% route participation last week as well. You could do far worse on a 6K punt play. So little Zaccheaus, let him in through the roof and let him catch a touchdown. He's actually on a tree, not the roof. I'm thinking of someone else. Just a little biblical chat here, Rowan.
It's solid. How are you going to stack this game?
Look, it's obviously the Burrow side, isn't it? So, look, I'm happy to go a Burrow Chase Higgins and then maybe bring it back with a London, but probably not feeling like I'm always wanting to do a bring back. And if I do, maybe it's the 6K Zacchaeus, because that actually just might help this, higher salaried offense actually work in a lineup. If you want to get a bit weird and, you could do a mix in London stack if you don't think the passing work's going to be there. I'm probably not going to do that. Don't mind a little bit of a Burrow, Chase Higgins, Hurst onslaught if you think they're just going to absolutely smash him in the teeth and just go nuts on them. I don't know if Zach Taylor will let that happen. I think once he gets a nice little happy lead, he'll probably sit on it. But love a bit of a double stack in this game for sure.
No, fair call. All right, they're the 4 games that we've run through, and hopefully there's some stacking ideas for you in all of that. Nothing's pretty. I don't think there's anything that's super standout in all of this. So it's going to be an interesting week to see where the field goes, that's for sure. We're going to run through position by position now, some of the leftovers, and talk about who are the best of the rest and some of the value plays that we like here. I'm just going to quickly mention Lamar Jackson coming up against Cleveland. Cleveland suck in terms of their defense. They're 30th and 31st, I think, in DVOA. Defensive DVOA. They just are letting up massive points on the ground. And I actually think when I'm thinking about Lamar, when we're thinking about this Baltimore offense, and we're thinking about rushing yards, it's actually Lamar. Like, yes, Kenyon Drake put up like 120 yards on the ground, 119 yards on the ground last week on 10 carries. So we'll talk about Kenyon Drake in a second. But Lamar, look, he's in line for a big game if he can be healthy, because watch out, he's dealing with a hip injury. He was limited in practice, so hopefully they get that all right. And if it is a hip injury, hey, maybe it is. We just hand it off to Drake for the rest of the game. So either way, I think Lamar here. Yes, he's 15K, but I'm big fan against Cleveland. So he's my best of the rest. Arch, what about a value play for you?
I'll tell you what, Rowan, we've been waiting all year to say something like this. This is 2021 has resurfaced. Davis Mills. It's Davis Mills week. It's Davis Mills week.
Come on. Will it into existence.
Yeah. I mean, potentially I'm going to create a new segment of rounded price play of the week. And at 9,500 flat, like, this is a nice price aesthetically and for the value here. They're facing Las Vegas. They're 30th in pass DVOA, 25th in pass rate over expectation defensively, 24th in allowing explosive plays, 26th in pressure percentage. They're not getting to the quarterback, and 31st in pass EPA per play. Like, they are letting quarterbacks and letting offenses cook. And so, to me, Rowan, stacking Mills with, a Nico Collins, maybe a Brandon Cooks, just makes sense, Rowan, to then bring it back with a huge play in Josh Jacobs, which we'll probably talk a little bit about later on. But you're not spending much salary to do that, which means you can add in a lot of other premium pieces. My analysis a few weeks ago of, avoiding these valued quarterbacks is probably, I'm going to throw that out the window this week. I can't see myself not playing some Davis Mills shares this week. Save me from myself, but I think it's a Davis Mills week, Rowan.
I love it. I was on the Davis Mills train first last year, right?
Yes.
I love the Davis Mills cheap stack, and it opens up a lot of salary elsewhere. Yep. So if you can get the stack right and he puts up, 18, 20 points, he's doubled his salary, and you're well on your way. So let's go.
Yeah.
So
and then Devontae Adams as a bring back. Like, there's 2 real nice bring back pieces here as well. Like, I think it just makes too much sense for me to ignore. Maybe I'll do it in the TFL podcast, contest, Ron.
Do it. That'd be great. All right. Next up, we got running backs. You've got a premium play for us that. Not the premium play of the week, mind you, but
no.
A solid play from the premium running backs.
I mean, if you look at the best, there are so many good players at running back, I think, this week. Saquon Barkley is, the offense in New York Giants land. Daniel Jones is doing okay. He's just taking care of the ball a little bit more, which helps, Saquon Barkley just have more work on the ground. And he can really get himself into some sort of momentum. He's got volume for days. I don't think we've seen the ceiling yet for at least a month. And so I think this potentially against Jacksonville could be the week we see him, catch a few more balls, hit play dirt a couple times, and it could go pretty well for Saquon.
Not bad. Let's just quickly talking about value plays. Look, I actually think Derrick Henry is value. He's priced at 13,680. He's
look at that.
Play Derrick Henry. So I love Derrick Henry at that price. I'm going to scroll down though here to Kenyon Drake. I know. Look, 119 rushing yards and a touchdown last week on 10 carries. So he was efficient last week. Baltimore know how to be efficient with their running backs. J.K. Dobbins is clearly not right. There's something wrong. He needs some medical attention. And
just don't
getting
tweet
Justice
at him.
Hill back. What was that?
Just don't tweet at him. He'll reply.
Yeah, that's right. Kenyon Drake is a solid play here. I think if he's firming to be the starter.
Yep.
So watch that. He's going to be owned a lot, but 8K for a running back is pretty nice.
It's a real different slate this week. Last week was one of those classic, plenty of 8K ranges. You've just paid down and at running back.
That's
this week. There's not. This is probably the only option out there.
Yeah, unless Swift doesn't get up, then Jamal Williams.
Yep.
And they'll both garner a lot of rostership if they go that way. So there you go. There's that. But Arch, you've got our fade of the week coming up for us, and it's a running back, and we've heard his name before.
It's a running back.
Declare bankruptcy!
Look, we're going back again. Christian McCaffrey is our fade of the week this week, with Carolina facing a Tampa Bay defense that is allowing the second fewest adjusted fantasy points to the running back position. It hurts again and scares me to do it, but I think, Chris, when you look at the running backs on this slate, there's so many other pieces that you got to go for that. There's too many question marks against CMC this week to go on with any confidence. Look, Tampa Bay is also 4th in total defense DVOA, 8th in rush DVOA. Carolina, on the other hand, are dead last in EPA per play and drive success percentage, bottom 3rd in explosive plays, and near the bottom in most offensive stats that we care about for fantasy. On the flip side, Tampa Bay is pretty much top 10 in every defensive metric. This is a mismatch. CMC is not getting close to the end zone. He ranks 43rd in inside 10-yard carries. They're just not allowed. The offense is just stalling. And so we're not seeing that happen. He's not getting the high-value touches that we want to see, that CMC ceiling. He's not getting big plays. Tampa Bay is 4th defensively in giving up big plays as well. So he's just going to be stuffed and have a frustrating day, I'm afraid. And so I'm fading Christian McCaffrey. So, look, when I look at other options, much rather pay down. Go Josh Jacobs. Go Derrick Henry. Go Leonard Fournette on the other side of this game. Just don't go CMC.
Yeah, I'm with you there on that one. With you there. Let's move on to wide receivers. And look, you just can't ignore Devontae Adams. You just can't. Like, in terms of expected fantasy points, he's first. And in terms of fantasy points, he actually is first. So he's making the most of all of his opportunities. He is looked at all the time by Derek Carr. Like, look at these lines. Just notching up 100-yard bonuses left and right, touchdowns. Like, he's just an absolute machine. So, and if Houston can get something going, if Davis Mills can get something going,
which they will,
speak it, then Devontae Adams will be used. He has to be used. And
I'll tell you what, Ron, this game environment could actually be pretty fruitful.
It could be nice. Like, think Seattle, Detroit from a while back.
This could go over. I think I'm going to go heavy in the mini on this, Ron.
Let's do it. Let's have the Houston Las Vegas game be better than all of the stacks that we talked about. Let's go Houston Las Vegas. Anyway, so that's that. And we have got a value of the week. in our wide receivers as well. So we're going to go there.
Inconceivable. Inconceivable.
Chris Godwin is healthy. Yes. Love to see it. He's coming up against Carolina this week, and Carolina are giving up the third most fantasy points to wide receivers in the last 4 weeks, and this guy is Brady's favorite easily.
Yeah.
He has
Wears
a
a
target
t-shirt
on,
even.
He has a t-shirt even. And Godwin is having a target on 27% of his routes. That's phenomenal. It's fantastic. He's coming in at 11th in expected fantasy points over the past month, and there is big positive regression to be had here. Chris Godwin is our value play of the week. I love what he can do against with Tampa, against Carolina.
It's too cheap.
It's too cheap. 12K or less than 12K, 11,570. Too cheap. So, big fan of Chris Godwin.
Yes.
Arch, there is a bit of value in wide receiver land. Run us through it.
Look, if I look at most weeks in our Discords that we're in, Rowan, most often the request is, all right, who's the cheap players to go with in wide receiver land? People want to find these 6K guys that helps them get to the big guys elsewhere. So let me just list a couple without too much analysis, just for time's sake. We've mentioned Gallup already. I think, that he's not a 6K guy, but I think he's superb value, sub 10K. But 6K guys, Paris Campbell, 11 targets last week. How's he? I don't know. He's still 6K, so that's pretty nice. Corey Davis is another one. I think he's in play. He's involved in the offense. Russell Gage, until Julio Jones is back on the field, is always in play. The wide receiver 3 in Tampa is always, potential to catch a touchdown. KJ Hamler. Look, they've said they want to get him the ball more after he pretty much, spat the dummy out after missing that open touchdown a couple of weeks ago. I think he's in line for, hitting a big game sometime soon. Wan'Dale Robinson, I think as the rookie is warming into that offense, let's get in a bit earlier than the field here. 12.7 points last week on 3 catches and a touchdown. I think he's the only spark on the passing game.
Need him. They need him so bad.
So I don't mind that 6.7K. So there's just a few sub 7, around the 6K mark that helps you just make your offense, your lineups work. Got any more for me, or are you happy with that?
No, I didn't mind that. I think that they're pretty solid. Tight ends. Let's go tight ends. Who are the best? It's pretty obvious.
Mark Andrews. Offense goes through him. Cleveland defense is 31st in defensive DVOA and total EPA per play. So, if he didn't practice on Wednesday, so just, might watch the reports, but, he's a vet. He probably gets days off. So, look, fire in your Mark Andrews. I don't know if Bateman's back yet, but to be honest, it doesn't matter. He's still going to have probably almost 40% target share.
I think Bateman helps the whole offense. Going back to my Lamar quarterback, I think I would only play Lamar if Bateman's back.
Yep.
So that's probably where I sit.
Value?
In terms of value at tight ends, well, look, I've got Evan Engram. Is probably the guy that I'm a big fan of. He just continues to be involved in that offense. 5 receptions, 6 receptions, 7 receptions. This is a guy that they're continually using, and he's had a target on 30% of his routes last week and is 19% on the season. That's really solid. Giants are giving up the 4th most fantasy points to tight ends in the last 4 weeks as well. So this is a solid spot for Engram. It's a revenge game as well. Yes. So we always love that. So I'm all in on Evan Engram getting a touchdown.
Yeah, love
I'm a fan of that. Defenses, let's run real quick. My favorite defenses are the Packers, Cowboys, and Broncos at the top. A couple of values, Arch, you've got down here.
Look, I found it a bit harder this week to pinpoint. Don't mind the Giants this week, 5,300 against Jacksonville. They're going along nicely. Washington as a low price. If you think that there's real problems in Green Bay, they potentially could get a turnover here and do well. But it's going to be interesting on defense this week.
I actually really like Washington in terms of pressure rate. They are at a 43.6% pressure rate on quarterbacks, and which is the best in the league at the moment. And if we want to talk about the pressure or how well Aaron Rodgers does in pressure, he's rated as quarterback. Let me scroll down all the way down here. He's
dirty.
He is bad. He is 33rd.
33rd.
There's 32 teams in the league, and Aaron Rodgers is 33rd of 45 qualifying quarterbacks to be. He's at negative 0.64 EPA per play that's under pressure. So I actually quite like Washington here. There's an opportunity, that's for sure.
Yeah,
anyway,
price is nice as well.
That's right. Let's quickly build a lineup before we finish off. So,
where do we stacking around, Ron?
Look, do you want to do the dirty Davis Mills?
Yes, it's Davis Mills week.
Yes, let's do it. All right, Davis Mills.
Right. Throw in Josh Jacobs. We got to put our plays in. So,
yes.
Yeah, and Eckler. Eckler needs to be in. He's our premium of the week, so we can't go past Eckler.
Yeah.
And Chris Godwin's in it. We'll put our plays in. Let's build around that.
Yeah.
And I like Washington as a defense then. Help us get everywhere else.
All right, so what have we got? Where is Brandon Cooks? You got to scroll down a bit for him.
You do.
Here he is.
It's nice, isn't it?
Do you want a double stack or a single stack?
It's risky double for this, isn't it?
It is a risky double.
Why don't we go Michael Gallup instead? Because I think that price is nice.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. Tight end, are we paying up or are we going down?
So to me, it's probably looking at a Hayden Hurst or a Mark Andrews, I think.
Sure.
What do you think on the tight end?
Yeah, look, Andrews is a favourite here, that's for sure.
So let's see what we can do in Flexland.
Flexland with 9,260 left. I'm not going near Terry McLaurin, thanks to the new quarterback.
Yes.
It's a bit rough, to be honest.
Yeah. If you think Ayuk could go again, but
that's an option. Let's flip it. Instead of Mark Andrews, let's go down to Hayden Hurst. And then we've got 16K to play with. We can put in.
Go double tight end.
You can go double tight end. I don't love it.
No.
I'd rather put in like a Derrick Henry.
What about a Jamar Chase? Do you think he does it? Or do you?
Yeah, look, I think Jamar Chase is a good play. Then I wouldn't play Hayden Hurst. I'd be looking at Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett, of course, with the smash play against the Seahawks. So there we go. I'm a fan of that lineup. That's a solid one.
Very much. Submit.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's been fun. Arch, hopefully next week I'll have a clear voice and I won't have such husky tones.
I know. You kind of warmed into it, though, Rowan. I think people enjoy the smooth tones.
That's right. Anyways, remember everyone, gamble responsibly, 1-800-838-838. But we will see you on the Draftstars leaderboards on Monday morning. Bring it on, week 7. Let's go.
Bye-bye.